The emergency alarm echoed through Ambassador David Ross's quarters at 3 in the morning, Galactic Standard Time. He had been dreaming of his daughter's wedding back on Earth when the urgent message dragged him from sleep. The Galactic Council was calling an immediate session, something that hadn't happened in over 50 years. David dressed quickly in his formal diplomatic robes, the blue and gold colors of Terra Federation catching the artificial light of the orbital station. Outside his window, the massive structure of Council Prime stretched for kilometers in every direction, home to representatives from 47 different species across the galaxy. He had called this place home for 3 years, working tirelessly to maintain humanity's position among the older, more established galactic powers. The corridors buzzed with activity as aliens of every shape and size hurried toward the central chamber. David noticed something strange immediately. None of them would meet his eyes. The Crystalline Collective's representative, usually eager to discuss trade agreements, turned away when David approached. The gaseous Nebulans, who had shared drinks with him just last week, floated past without their usual greeting. Inside the great chamber, David took his assigned seat in the human section. The architecture never failed to impress him, a perfect sphere with gravity generators allowing representatives to sit on any surface, creating the illusion that everyone was at the center. Today, however, the beauty felt ominous. Every other delegate had already arrived, and they were all staring at him. Supreme Chancellor Thek of the Hegemony called the session to order with a sharp click of his mandibles. The insectoid leader stood nearly 3 meters tall, his black carapace gleaming under the chamber lights. Behind him, the holographic displays showed tactical information that made David's blood run cold. Detailed maps of human space, colony populations, military installations, and fleet positions. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Thek began, his translator rendering his words in perfect standard. We gather today to address a growing threat to galactic peace and stability. The human species, despite their recent arrival in galactic society, has begun an aggressive expansion that threatens the established order. David shot to his feet. Supreme Chancellor, I must protest. The Terra Federation has honored every treaty, every trade agreement. Our colonies are peaceful settlements focused on agriculture and research. We've provided medical aid to 17 worlds and silence. The word carried the weight of absolute authority. Around the chamber, 46 other species turned their attention to Thek as he activated a new holographic display. Let the evidence speak for itself. The display showed human colony ships, but the perspective was wrong somehow. What David knew to be medical supply vessels appeared to be military transports. Agricultural settlements looked like fortified bases. Even the civilian freighters seemed threatening when viewed through whatever filter the hegemony was using. In the past decade, humans have established colonies in 23 star systems, that continued. Each colony is equipped with defensive capabilities far exceeding normal civilian requirements. Your species claims peaceful intent while building what can only be described as a military empire. The Amphibian Union's representative, a bloated creature named Gorluk, spoke up. The humans have also been conducting what they call deep space surveys along our borders. These surveys involve heavily armed vessels that refuse to submit to inspection. David's mind raced. Those surveys were legitimate scientific missions, but he could see how they might be misinterpreted. Those are exploration vessels conducting standard astrographic mapping. The weapons are for protection against space pirates and hostile fauna that coincidentally includes several of our patrol fleets, interrupted the Crystalline Collective's representative, her voice chiming like broken glass. Human vessels have been detected observing our military exercises from distances that suggest advanced sensor technology far beyond what they have declared. More evidence appeared on the displays. Radio intercepts, sensor readings, and tactical analyses that painted humanity as an aggressive, expansionist power preparing for war. David recognized some of the data as legitimate, but it was all taken out of context, twisted to support a predetermined conclusion. The Council has reviewed all available evidence, Thek announced. We have concluded that the human species represents an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. Therefore, by unanimous vote of all council members excluding the human representative, the following resolution has been adopted. David felt the chamber spin around him. Unanimous vote. Every single species had voted against humanity without even consulting him. The holographic display changed to show an official council decree. All human colonies and installations beyond the Sol system are hereby declared forfeit to the Galactic Council. The human species will withdraw all personnel and equipment to their home system within 30 standard days. Furthermore, humanity will submit to a permanent quarantine with no vessels permitted to leave Sol system without explicit council permission. The chamber erupted in alien cheers and war cries. Species that had traded with humanity, shared scientific discoveries, and called themselves friends were now celebrating what amounted to humanity's exile from galactic civilization. David tried to speak, but his voice was lost in the cacophony. Security drones began moving toward him as Thek raised a clawed appendage for silence. The human representative will be detained pending the completion of the withdrawal, Thek announced. Any resistance to this decree will be met with appropriate force. As the security drones surrounded him, David caught fragments of excited conversation in a dozen different languages. The translator in his ear picked up key phrases: extermination protocols, final solution, and cleanse the galaxy. This wasn't about territorial disputes or misunderstandings. This was genocide disguised as justice. The drones escorted him from the chamber as the other representatives began discussing the division of human territory and assets. 47 species had conspired against humanity, and David realized with growing horror that they had been planning this for months, possibly years. In his detention cell, David activated his emergency communicator, praying it would reach Earth before the aliens jammed all human transmissions. The message he sent was simple: Council has voted for our extermination. They're coming for the colonies. Warn the fleet. As the communicator's light faded, David stared out the small window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, 12 million human colonists were going about their daily lives, unaware that 47 alien species had just declared war on humanity itself. Lieutenant Beck had been monitoring routine communications when the emergency signal arrived. The young officer's hands shook as she decoded Ambassador Ross's message, each word making the situation clearer and more terrifying. Admiral Patricia? Stone read the decoded transmission 3 times before the full horror sank in. Admiral Stone stood before the main tactical display in the command center of the TSF Vengeance, humanity's newest and most advanced battleship. The Fifth Fleet spread out around them in perfect formation. 37 ships that represented the cutting edge of human military technology. They had been conducting what the galaxy believed were routine border patrols, but Stone knew the truth. Every human fleet had been positioned strategically, waiting for something like this. Ma'am, we're getting similar reports from colonies across human space, Beck reported from her communications station. New Geneva Colony is reporting massive alien fleets dropping out of hyperspace. Port Darwin is under attack by crystalline vessels. The farming worlds in the Kepler system are being bombarded by hegemony forces. Captain Williams, Stone's second-in-command, studied the incoming data with grim efficiency. Admiral, this is coordinated. They're hitting every human world simultaneously. This isn't a police action. It's genocide. Stone nodded grimly. She had been preparing for this possibility since taking command of the Fifth Fleet 2 years ago. Every human military officer above the rank of captain had received classified briefings about potential alien threats, but none of them had expected such complete betrayal. Deploy all sensor drones, she ordered. I want a complete picture of enemy movements within 6 hours. Signal all ships to combat readiness and begin charging primary weapon systems. The tactical display updated as more information poured in from across human space. The picture was devastating. 16 different alien species had launched simultaneous attacks on human colonies. With overwhelming numerical superiority, the hegemony's feared battle hives led massive assault fleets. each one capable of cracking a planet's crust with their gravity cannons. Behind them came the collective's crystal ships that could slice through hull armor like tissue paper, and the Union's bioships that adapted to whatever weapons hit them. "Admiral," Lieutenant Beck called out, her voice tight with controlled panic. "Colony ship Prometheus from New Geneva is requesting immediate evacuation. They have 40,000 civilians aboard, including 8,000 children. The local defense platforms are failing." Stone looked at the tactical situation around New Geneva. 3 battle hives and a dozen hegemony cruisers were systematically destroying the orbital infrastructure while ground forces landed on the planet below. The human defenders were fighting bravely, but they were outnumbered 50 to 1. "Signal the Prometheus and all civilian vessels in that system," Stone ordered. "Tell them to maintain current positions and prepare for extraction. We're coming to get them." Williams looked at the tactical display with obvious concern. "Admiral, with respect, that's suicide. We're one fleet against multiple alien armadas. Even if we manage to save one colony, we can't save them all." Stone smiled coldly. "Captain, you're thinking like the aliens do. They see 37 ships and assume that's all humanity has to offer. They have no idea what they've actually started." She activated her command communicator, broadcasting on an encrypted frequency that would reach every human military unit in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Stone of the 5th Fleet to all Terra Federation forces. Operation Endgame is now active. Repeat, Operation Endgame is active. All units are authorized to reveal classified capabilities and engage enemy forces with extreme prejudice." The response was immediate. Across human space, vessels that had appeared to be civilian cargo haulers suddenly revealed hidden weapon systems. Mining ships activated military-grade shields and launched fighters that had been disguised as ore processors. Even the seemingly helpless colony ships began transmitting military identification codes as their true nature became apparent. "Ma'am, we're receiving responses from units that don't exist in any official registry," Beck reported with amazement. "The cargo vessel Happy Merchant just identified itself as the stealth cruiser Retribution. The research ship Scientific Method is actually the battleship Nemesis." "Admiral, there are hundreds of ships revealing themselves." Stone nodded with satisfaction. "The aliens think they know our military strength because we let them think that. Every human vessel they've seen was either a decoy or operating at minimal capability. Today they learn what humanity actually brought to this galaxy." The first engagement began as the 5th Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at New Geneva. The hegemony forces detected their arrival immediately and turned to face what they assumed would be easy prey. 3 battle hives and their escort cruisers formed up in standard attack formation, their weapons charging with deadly intent. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone," she broadcast on an open channel. "These aliens wanted to see what human military technology can do. Let's show them. Fire." The 5th Fleet's Alpha Strike reached across space at a significant fraction of light speed. The alien sensors barely had time to register the incoming projectiles before they struck. What the hegemony thought were simple kinetic rounds turned out to be something far more exotic. The projectiles passed through their shields without interaction, then detonated inside the hull structure with the force of small stars. 3 battle hives simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that their atoms scattered across the solar wind. The escort cruisers lasted only seconds longer before suffering the same fate. In 17 minutes of combat, 37 human ships had destroyed a fleet of 86 alien vessels without taking a single casualty. But Stone knew this was only the beginning. Reports continued flooding in from across human space as the true scope of the alien betrayal became clear. Every human world beyond Earth was under simultaneous attack by overwhelming forces. The colonists were fighting bravely, but conventional. Resistance could only delay the inevitable. "Signal Earth Command," Stone ordered as her fleet moved to engage the next alien force. "Tell them the aliens have shown their true colors. Request immediate deployment of all reserve fleets." William studied the tactical display showing dozens of human colonies under attack. Admiral, even with our hidden assets, we can't be everywhere at once. Some of those colonies are going to fall before we can reach them. Stone's expression hardened. Then we make sure the aliens pay such a terrible price that they regret ever hearing the word human? Signal all commanders, no prisoners, no mercy, and no quarter. They want to exterminate us? Let's teach them what extinction really looks like. Behind them, the remains of the hegemony fleet continued expanding outward as glowing debris, a warning to any alien force foolish enough to threaten humanity's children. The war room, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado Mountains, had been excavated in secret during the early days of human space exploration. Fleet Admiral Thompson had spent the last 6 hours watching tactical displays as humanity's colonies fell one by one to alien invasion forces. The bunker's walls displayed real-time feeds from 47 different battlefields across human space, each one showing desperate colonists fighting against impossible odds. General Hayes burst through the reinforced doors carrying a datapad filled with casualty reports. Sir, Admiral Stone's fleet has managed to save New Geneva, but we're losing ground everywhere else. The aliens are using overwhelming force against civilian populations. Port Darwin has gone silent, and the farming colonies in Sector 7 are reporting orbital bombardment. Thompson studied the holographic battle map floating in the center of the room. Red markers indicated alien fleets, while blue showed human forces. The ratio was devastating. 47 species had committed their military assets to humanity's destruction, creating a numerical disadvantage that should have meant certain extinction. But Thompson wasn't concerned about the numbers, he was concerned about timing. General, what's the current status of our colonial evacuation efforts? He asked, manipulating the hologram to focus on the outer colonies. Sir, Admiral Stone has requested permission to begin full evacuation of civilian populations to Earth. We can save maybe 2 million people if we start immediately, but the other 10 million... Hayes's voice trailed off as the implications became clear. Thompson shook his head. Negative on the evacuation. Signal all fleet commanders to maintain defensive positions around the colonies and continue engaging enemy forces. Hayes stared at his superior with obvious shock. Sir, that's suicide. We can't abandon 10 million civilians to alien genocide. Thompson activated a wall display that showed the Sol system in unprecedented detail. What most people saw was one heavily populated world and a handful of research stations scattered among the inner planets. The classified view was far different. Mars showed not barren research outposts but massive underground cities housing 60 million people. The asteroid belt revealed hundreds of hidden installations, each one connected by a network of tunnels and defensive platforms. Europa's ice-covered surface concealed industrial complexes that dwarfed anything on Earth itself. General, tell me about humanity's expansion into space, the official timeline. Sir, first colony ship launched 63 years ago. We've established settlements in 23 star systems since then. Thompson smiled grimly. Now tell me the classified timeline. Hayes accessed his security codes and pulled up files that made his face pale. Sir, according to these records, we've been building ships and installations in space for over 100 years. The hidden construction projects, the classified military buildup, ... My God, we have entire fleets that don't appear in any official registry, Thompson nodded. After the nuclear wars nearly destroyed our species, the world governments agreed on one absolute principle: never again would humanity face extinction from external threats. Every colony we established was designed as a complete industrial and military base. Every civilian ship was built with hidden military capabilities. Every peaceful gesture toward alien species was cover for the largest military buildup in galactic history. He gestured toward another display showing production statistics that defied belief. Hidden shipyards throughout the Sol system had been producing warships for decades. Manufacturing facilities disguised as mining operations had churned out weapons and equipment. Even the civilian colonies had been secretly fortified and equipped with defensive systems far beyond normal requirements. The Galactic Council thinks they're facing one species with limited military assets spread across a few dozen worlds, Thompson continued. They have no idea they just declared war on a civilization that spent a century preparing for exactly this scenario. Hayes studied the classified fleet positions with growing amazement. Sir, these numbers ... We have over 10,000 combat vessels in the Sol system alone. How did we keep this secret? Because we learn from history, General. Every great civilization falls when it becomes complacent, when it assumes peace will last forever. Humanity never made that mistake. We smiled and traded and played the role of peaceful newcomers while building the most powerful military force the galaxy has ever seen. The communication system chimed with an incoming priority message from Admiral Stone's fleet. Thompson activated the display to see his field commander's tense face. Admiral Thompson, we've managed to slow the alien advance, but they keep bringing in reinforcements. My fleet can't be everywhere at once. We need the reserve forces now, sir. Thompson looked at the tactical situation one more time. The alien fleets were fully committed to their attack on human space, believing they faced only the ships they had observed over the past decade. It was time to show them how wrong they were. Admiral Stone, continue current operations. You'll have reinforcements soon. He cut the connection and turned to Hayes. Signal all reserve fleets. Full activation, all classifications lifted. I want every hidden ship, every secret installation, every classified weapon system brought online immediately. Hayes looked at him with concern. Sir, that's going to reveal capabilities we've kept secret for decades. Once the galaxy sees what we actually have, there's no going back. Thompson smiled coldly. Good, the aliens wanted to see Earth's true military strength. Today they get their wish. He activated the command override that would wake up humanity's sleeping giant. Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them they have 48 hours to cease all hostile actions against human territories and withdraw to their home systems. And if they refuse, sir? Thompson turned back to the tactical displays as new markers began appearing throughout human space. Ships that had lurked in the darkness for decades suddenly powered up their drives. Installations that had masqueraded as civilian facilities revealed their military nature. The true scope of human preparation began to unfold. If they refuse, General, they'll learn why Earth never needed to send more than a tiny fraction of its military to patrol alien borders. Signal the First Fleet. It's time for them to come home. Across the galaxy, alien commanders were about to discover that their numerical advantage had just become a numerical disadvantage as humanity stopped pretending to be weak. Captain Nina Reeves had commanded cargo vessels for most of her 15-year career, hauling supplies between Earth and the outer colonies. At least, that's what her official records claimed. The truth was far more interesting, Nina commanded. One of humanity's most advanced stealth warships, disguised as a humble freight hauler and operating in the deepest regions of space, where no alien sensors could detect her true activities. The recall signal reached her ship while she conducted routine operations in the Kuiper Belt, far from the shipping lanes where alien observers might notice unusual activity. Around her position, 200 other vessels received the same activation codes. Ships that had spent decades disguising their true nature as miners, researchers, and cargo haulers suddenly began dropping their civilian facades, Nina watched with satisfaction as her ship's hull plating retracted to reveal weapon systems that violated several galactic treaties. The cargo bays that supposedly held agricultural supplies opened to release fighter squadrons. The mining equipment transformed into missile launchers and energy projectors. In minutes, the harmless freighter Prosperity became the stealth destroyer Retribution. All ships, this is Admiral Foster aboard the flagship Nemesis, came the fleet commander's voice over the encrypted communication channel. You've all monitored the tactical situation. 47 alien species have decided humanity needs to be exterminated. Time to remind the galaxy why that's always been a terrible idea. Nina activated her tactical displays and reviewed the battle data streaming in from across human space. The alien fleets had committed enormous resources to their simultaneous attacks, believing they faced a technologically inferior species with limited military capabilities. They were about to learn how catastrophically wrong that assumption had been. Across the Sol system, similar scenes played out as reserve fleets shed their disguises. The Second Fleet emerged from hidden bases inside Jupiter's atmosphere, where they had masqueraded as gas mining operations. The Eighth Fleet revealed itself near Saturn's rings, where ships disguised as ice haulers suddenly bristled with advanced weaponry. Even the asteroid belt came alive with activity as mining stations revealed hidden military installations. But the most important signal came from the edge of known space, where humanity's greatest secret had waited for 30 years. The First Fleet had officially been lost during an exploratory mission beyond the galactic rim, all hands presumed dead when they failed to return from their survey of uncharted systems. The memorial services had been genuine, the grief real, but the truth had been far different. Admiral Rodriguez and her 300 ships had discovered something that changed everything: a derelict alien megastructure filled with technologies that made current galactic civilization look primitive. Galactic Control, this is Admiral Rodriguez commanding First Fleet, came the transmission from the edge of space. We've been monitoring Council communications from our position beyond the rim. Estimate arrival in Sol system in 6 hours. Recommend all friendly forces maintain safe distance from designated combat zones. Nina had heard whispers about the First Fleet over the years, rumors about ships that had been upgraded with technology beyond human understanding, weapons that could manipulate fundamental forces and capabilities that bordered on the impossible. If even half the stories were true, the alien invasion fleets were about to face something unprecedented in galactic history. "Copy that, First Fleet," came Admiral Thompson's response from Earth Command. "Your orders are simple: save our colonies, and make sure this never happens again. Full authorization for all classified systems." Nina felt a chill run down her spine. Full authorization meant the First Fleet was cleared to use technologies that had been deemed too dangerous for normal operations. Whatever they had discovered beyond the rim was about to be unleashed against humanity's enemies. The tactical display updated as more reserve fleets revealed their positions. The Fourth Fleet materialized from the outer darkness where they had been conducting deep space patrols. The Seventh Fleet emerged from hidden bases on the far side of the moon. Ship after ship appeared on sensors as humanity's true military might became visible for the first time. "Nina, this is Admiral Foster," came a private communication. "Your ship has been selected for special operations. You'll be working directly with First Fleet assets when they arrive. Are your exotic systems fully operational?" Nina checked her ship's status displays. The Retribution carried experimental weapons that had been developed from alien technologies recovered during humanity's expansion into space. Gravity manipulators, temporal disruptors, and reality anchors, systems so advanced that even human scientists didn't fully understand how they worked. "All systems green, Admiral. Ready for whatever the First Fleet has planned." The next few hours passed in tense preparation as human forces moved into position throughout the galaxy. The aliens had expected to face scattered resistance from lightly armed colonies and a few patrol fleets. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by ships that appeared from nowhere, equipped with weapons that shouldn't exist. When Admiral Rodriguez's fleet finally arrived, Nina understood why they had been kept secret for 30 years. The ships defied visual description. Their hulls seemed to bend space around them, shifting between dimensions and flickering in and out of normal reality. They moved with impossible grace, ignoring the laws of physics as they positioned themselves for attack. "All units, this is Admiral Rodriguez," came the transmission from the flagship Transcendent. "We're detecting massive alien fleets throughout human space. These species have chosen to threaten our colonies and our people. Show them the price of that decision." The First Fleet fired once, a coordinated barrage that reached across light years in an instant and struck with the force of collapsing stars. Entire alien battle groups simply ceased to exist, their matter scattered across the cosmic winds. The hegemony battle hives that had terrified the galaxy for millennia crumbled like ancient ruins. The crystalline collective's perfect formations shattered into prismatic fragments that caught and reflected the light of distant suns. Nina watched in awe as reality itself seemed to bend to humanity's will. This wasn't just advanced technology, it was something approaching the power of gods. The aliens had awakened something that should have remained sleeping, and now they would pay the ultimate price for their arrogance. Second wave incoming? Admiral Foster announced. All ships prepare for system-wide assault. Time to show these species what happens when they threaten humanity's children. Supreme Commander Vash of the Hegemony had conquered 17 star systems during his illustrious military career. The massive alien general stood before the tactical displays aboard his flagship, watching with satisfaction as his forces systematically destroyed human resistance across the galaxy. The mammals had fought harder than expected, but superior numbers and technology were prevailing. Soon every human world would burn, and the galaxy would remember why the hegemony had ruled for 10,000 years. The attack on New Geneva Colony proceeded exactly as planned. 3 battle hives and their escort fleets surrounded the human settlement while ground forces landed to begin the extermination process. The local defense platforms offered token resistance before falling to concentrated fire. Within hours, the human presence would be completely erased. Commander, we're detecting unusual hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system, reported his sensor operator, a nervous subordinate who had served under Vash for 3 campaigns. Something massive is approaching. Vash clicked his mandibles. Dismissively, probably human reinforcements from their pathetic fleet. Let them come. We'll destroy them just as easily as we destroyed their colonies. The first wave materialized at the system's edge like materializing nightmares. 500 human ships dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously, their formation so perfect it seemed impossible. But it was their design that made Vash's combat instincts scream warnings. These weren't the crude vessels his forces had been fighting. These ships curved space around themselves, their hulls shifting between dimensions and flickering in and out of normal reality. What in the void are those things? Vash whispered, his confidence evaporating as his sensors struggled to lock onto targets that seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. The answer came in the form of concentrated annihilation. The human ships fired once, a synchronized barrage that ignored the fundamental laws of physics. The energy beams reached across impossible distances instantaneously and struck with the force of dying stars. Vash watched in horror as his mighty battle hives, each one capable of cracking planets, simply ceased to exist. Their atoms scattered across the solar wanes as if they had never been built. The crystalline ships of the collective, supposedly indestructible, shattered like fragile glass. The bioships of the Amphibian Union writhed in agony as their cellular structure unraveled at the molecular level. In 17 minutes of combat, 3 entire alien fleets had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris and radiation, but the humans weren't finished with their demonstration of power. The second wave arrived with perfect timing, 1,000 ships emerging from hyperspace like avenging angels. These vessels surrounded the surviving alien forces and began broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. "This is Admiral Rodriguez of the Terra Federation First Fleet," came the transmission in perfect standard, translated into every known galactic language. "By direct order of Earth Command, you will cease all hostile actions against human territories immediately and withdraw all forces to your home systems. This is your only warning." Vash tried to rally his remaining ships, drawing upon 10,000 years of hegemony military tradition. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the human flagship. Show these mammals what hegemony strength looks like. For the glory of the swarm." His remaining forces opened fire with everything they had: gravity cannons, antimatter torpedoes, and particle beams that could melt through a moon's crust. The barrage should have vaporized any ship in known space, but the human vessel absorbed the attack without apparent damage. The exotic energies simply vanished into the ship's hull as if they had never existed. The response was swift and absolute. One of the human destroyers, a sleek vessel that seemed to bend light around its hull, fired a single projectile. The shot passed through Vash's flagship without touching the physical structure, yet every system aboard began failing simultaneously. The mighty Battlehive, pride of the hegemony fleet and veteran of 100 conquests, aged 1,000,000 years and seconds and crumbled to cosmic dust. Vash had time for one final thought before his ship disintegrated around him. Humanity had been holding back. Everything the galaxy thought it knew about human military capabilities had been deliberate deception. The species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers possessed technology that made the greatest civilizations in galactic history look like children playing with sticks and stones. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as Earth's hidden fleets revealed their true nature. At the crystalline collective's home system, human forces appeared without warning and began systematically dismantling the ancient crystal matrices that had powered their civilization for millennia. Reality itself seemed to rewrite the laws of physics to favor human weapons as impossible energies tore through defenses that had never failed. Near the Amphibian Union's capital world, time began flowing backward around the alien invasion fleet. Ships that had been moments away from orbital bombardment found themselves trapped in temporal loops, reliving the same terrifying minutes as human forces materialized around them. The Union's bioships, capable of adapting to any threat, discovered they couldn't adapt to weapons that attacked them through multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Galactic Council emergency session convened in absolute panic as reports flooded in from every front. 47 species had attacked humanity with overwhelming numerical superiority, confident in their technological advantage and ancient military traditions. Instead, they found themselves facing a force that defied all understanding of what should be possible. Ambassador David Ross, hastily released from detention and escorted back to the council chambers under heavy guard, stood before the same delegates who had voted for human extinction just 3 days earlier. The chamber that had echoed with alien war cries now fell silent as he approached the central podium. "Honored delegates," David began, his voice carrying across the deadly quiet chamber. 3 days ago you voted unanimously to exterminate my species based on fear of our expansion and military capabilities. I tried to explain that humanity had always been peaceful, that we honored our agreements and posed no threat to galactic stability. He paused, letting his words sink into minds that were struggling to process the complete reversal of their situation. Lead, humanity has been preparing for this day since we first achieved interstellar flight. Every colony you thought you were attacking was a fortress. Every cargo ship you dismissed was a warship. Every peaceful gesture was calculated misdirection while we built the largest and most advanced military force the galaxy has ever seen. The holographic display behind him showed the current tactical situation, where alien fleets had once outnumbered human forces by impossible margins. Now the galaxy was filled with ships bearing the Terra Federation insignia. Earth's secret armadas continued emerging from hidden bases, their numbers growing by the hour as more classified assets revealed themselves. The hegemony representative managed to speak despite his species' devastating losses. "What are your terms for surrender?" David smiled with cold satisfaction as he looked out over beings who had ruled the galaxy through fear and intimidation for millennia. "Unconditional surrender of all hostile forces, complete withdrawal from human space, payment of reparations for damages caused by your unprovoked attacks, and most importantly, the immediate dissolution of this council." Gasps echoed through the chamber as the implications became clear. The Galactic Council, the supreme authority that had governed interstellar civilization for thousands of years, was being dissolved by the species it had tried to destroy. "From this day forward, the galaxy will be governed under different principles," David continued. "The Terra Federation tried diplomacy, offered friendship, and sought peaceful coexistence. You responded with attempted genocide. Now you'll discover what happens when humanity stops pretending to be weak As if summoned by his words, Admiral Rodriguez's flagship appeared directly outside the Council Station's main viewport. The ancient structure, built to symbolize galactic unity and eternal peace, found itself surrounded by weapons that could unmake reality itself. The sound of surrender signals began echoing through the chamber as, one by one, 47 species acknowledged their new reality. The age of the Galactic Council was over, ended not by time or politics, but by the awakening of a species that had spent a century preparing for galactic war. Outside the station, more human ships continued arriving from across the galaxy, their exotic technologies reshaping local spacetime as they took position. The galaxy had learned what happened when ancient powers tried to destroy humanity. They had learned too late.